am attorney Marie-Chris Bathan-lasco. This is my virtual classroom. Welcome to my YouTube channel. In this channel, I shall aim to simplify the law. I will discuss concepts and principles of law in under 10 minutes. Hello again, everyone. Welcome to MBL Classroom. So for this video, I want to talk about the liability of directors, trustees, or officers in a corporation. What is the extent of their liability in case there would be damage caused to other persons? What would be the extent of their liability if there is damage caused to the corporation or to the stockholders or members? So this is what the video is going to be about. So you have section 30 that talks about the liability of directors, trustees, or officers in a corporation. Let's read section 30. It says, directors or trustees who willfully and knowingly vote for or assent to patently unlawful acts of the corporation, or who are guilty of gross negligence or bad faith in directing the affairs of the corporation, or acquire any personal or pecuniary interest in conflict with their duty as such directors or trustees, shall be liable jointly and severally for all damages resulting therefrom suffered by the corporation, its stockholders or members, and other persons. A director, trustee, or officer shall not attempt to acquire any interest adverse to the corporation in respect of any matter which has been reposed in them in confidence, and upon which equity imposes a disability upon themselves to deal in their own behalf. Otherwise, the said director, trustee, or officer shall be liable as a trustee for the corporation and must account for the profits which otherwise would have accrued to the corporation. Now remember that section 30 is actually an exception. An exception to what? An exception to the general rule on the doctrine of corporate entity. I have, in fact, already discussed the doctrine of corporate entity in one of my videos. I will put the link up here. In the doctrine of corporate entity, what does it tell you? It tells you that the corporation is separate and distinct from the directors, the trustees, the officers, the stockholders, or the members composing the corporation. And so the liabilities of the corporation will remain the liabilities of the corporation. And as a general rule, your directors, your trustees, or officers are not supposed to be liable for them. Your section 30 actually gives an exception to the doctrine of corporate entity. Now, let's look into and analyze your section 30. Section 30 actually gives the instances or circumstances where your directors, trustees, or officers are made liable if and when there is damage caused to other persons or to the corporation or to the stockholders or the members. What are these circumstances according to section 30? There are 3 circumstances that section 30 enumerates for when your director, your trustee, or your officer will become liable jointly and severally, in other words, solidarily, if and when damage is caused to other persons, to the corporation, to the stockholders, or to the members. What are these 3 circumstances? First, when he willingly and knowingly assents or votes for patently unlawful acts of the corporation. Second, when he is guilty of gross negligence or bad faith in directing the affairs of the corporation. Third is when he acquires any personal or pecuniary interest in conflict with his duty as director or trustee of the corporation. Now let's talk about them one by one. The first circumstance where the director or trustee can be made liable solidarily is when he willingly and knowingly votes and assents to patently unlawful acts of the corporation. An example of such would be if he voted for or assents to money laundering by the corporation or selling prohibited drugs. These are patently unlawful acts. And if such director or trustee knowingly and willingly voted to approve such act, then he is solidarily liable for any damage that may be caused by such corporate act. The second circumstance is when the director or trustee is guilty of gross negligence or bad faith in directing the affairs of the corporation. Now remember, this is not a mere lack of ordinary prudence. This must be gross negligence. Supposing there is bad judgment on the part of the directors or trustees, resulting to loss of profits in the corporation. Is that considered as gross negligence? The answer is no. Bad judgment does not necessarily equate to gross negligence because clearly no one can guarantee that everything will be successful. When you say gross negligence, that means that the act of the director or the trustee had some dishonest purpose. There was moral obliquity to amount to a fraud. It's not a simple mistake of judgment, but rather there was ill will in conducting or directing the affairs of the corporation. And the third circumstance where the director or trustee will become solidarily liable is when he acquires personal or pecuniary interest in conflict with his duty as director or trustee. Let me give you an example for you to understand what this means. For example, there is a supplier who is now bidding for to become a supplier of the corporation. And then you have 10 directors, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, and J. So you have the 10 directors. Now this supplier went to A, B, and C. Directors A, B, and C. And enticed these 3 directors to vote to approve them as being a supplier in exchange for 1 million peso commission each. In the meeting held to determine whether to accept such a supplier, directors A, B, and C voted to approve the same because they were enticed by the 1 million peso commission each. What now would be the liability of directors A, B, and C? Section 30 tells you that they will have to account for these secret profits. Now, what do we mean by them accounting for such profits? That means that they will have to give their 1 million peso each commission to the corporation. Why? Because they acquired such pecuniary benefit in conflict with their duty as a director or a trustee. Now you might ask, why is it in conflict with their duty as director or trustee? It is in conflict because as director or a trustee, they must look out for the interests of the corporation. That means before deciding on whether to approve dealing with such supplier, they should have looked into the financial capability, the financial health of the supplier, the reputation of the supplier. But instead, they approved, they gave their vote due to the fact that the supplier enticed them with a commission. So there is a conflict of interest there because now they forwarded their interests first before the corporation. They accepted a commission to approve a certain supplier to be dealing with a corporation without even looking into whether the supplier was in good standing or whether the supplier was actually good for the corporation. They gave out their vote of approval because they were given a commission. And as such, they will have to account for such profit, and they will have to give it to the corporation. Now, if any of these three circumstances are present, and one or two of the directors or trustees are found to be guilty of such, will all the directors or trustees in the board, will they be liable? The answer is no. Only the guilty director or trustee will become liable. It would be unfair if you hold accountable those who are innocent of such acts. Thus, it must only be the guilty director or trustee that must be made accountable, that must be made solidarily liable. So, that's it for this video. I hope you now understand Section 30 of your Revised Corporation Code. I will see you in the next. So, if you find this video helpful, please click like, subscribe, and that notification bell so that you will be notified of new video uploads. Thank you for watching. See you next time in MBL Classroom.